use this?
Yeah, sure.
Whoops. Musical interlude. Oh, it's the right height. I'm going to read from a book called Morning with a U, which is published next year by Equus Press of Prague. A reading, sitting or séance, an abandoned operating theatre, Saint Hospital. His party has eluded capture. Those who survive will be reimbursed. Also dream, crime, accused of, wrenching up the bolts, the tubers, the mandrake by its ear. Green shoots burst through the concrete, the shattered asphalt. I don't know how I wrote that when I was asleep. Not affliction, affection, in the archaic sense of disposition, i.e. to be drawn down from something from the thin air. A white feather quivers, balanced on her breath. I scrawled messages and drawings over the wall without even opening my eyes. Today is the anniversary of our defeat. I felt like a fraud. Botch has been introduced much too early. He meant to say sack, but uttered receipt. They have no working knowledge of Mercury. I'm responding to you. She says any predicament can be made perfect through the agency of its own flesh and blood. When you stood on the shingle in your ankles up to the sea, I saw you older, not aged, transfigured. I'd written a will and lost it. He's associated with dirt and poison and plague. He is dubbed. With the most reverent respect, mister, most of what goes on in this establishment is made up, is so much guesswork, doomcraft, necromancy, a castle within a castle, a keep within a keep, a turret within a turret, juddering to an infinity. The meaning of primitive signs can be explained by hallucinations. I am treading a thin line. After the screaming had finally died down, in paragraph 4 is the gist of the chapter. Identify the deity therein worshipped. A head of paper pulp was committed to the waves and carried on the current. I am surrendered by the books inherited. The orthodox criticism of the father rests on an intolerance of the protean tendency in his speech, in his waiting. Gutturals include shackles, sickles, buckles. Even so, often as not, existence seems to converge. We never got paid. The lighting changed and everyone froze. He takes a deep bow at the word your reverence. The forwardmost appendages were modified into sense antennae and feeding organs. It's the best policy. Cement kept the water coming. An elevation of 600. Signals were fucked. Who carried the mortar? I said the first thing that entered my head and left. I knew you would forget. Earthquake in April, burial in May. Just 5 blocks from the trap, in the days before eyesight. I was first among all the monarchs to be renamed. It makes more sense in this context. Assume that Antichrist is a way of life, a way of being. I have secreted my rods. I am looking forward. I've got to say it's a novel, by the way. In case anyone's wondering. When's he going to read a poem? His famous watertight cell. This music makes me think of sailing ships, pitched redundant vessels creaking beneath their masts. There is a word in the language still running. He does not turn up the light. Part 3 is mathematic, preface of the 36. Yes, he was thinking no, or at least that he no longer cared. Trust this, trust me, oh good. What obsolete word signifies summer dwelling? Only things that are locations in this manner allow for spaces. You too are insignificant. What plays on without a voice, buried beneath the centre? I insist. This is the only way of transmitting urgent information rapidly and without interpretation. To wander about idly, from extravagant, to stray, hence, animal sounds, the vocal body, hooves, wings miscellaneous, airborne objects, a cosmology, flattened. It's an odd shape. I think you can be relied upon. I think you can be replaced. Well, well, said the business end. Repeat. Repeat below 2 paces at random step. Our plan shows the light recoiling, achieving zenith. A few last questions, and I'll be on my way home. Then twilight leaching from mine eyes. If we can't stop, there won't be any home to go home to. He stands at his window, arms spread eagle-wise. His body twists the air. Albedo. Incredible quantities of neutrinos. She was born on this day way back then. The second element is uncertain, if research tells us anything. While Venus is devoid of life, it should be anything but abandoned. Are you the men who wrote Dwelling, the oracle asked? I replied in riddles. I know atmosphere, she repeats again and again, before striding in fury from the passerelle. Together we crossed that long desert-like plain. I don't have it. You have it. She is detained by a fresh deluge of words issuing from her inquisitor. They have it. Primeval typeface. Now the couple are crossing the footbridge that spans the loch. Phasma filtered through the night air. I sailed out to meet the sirens, the descent. According to the composer, it suggests the tang of forgetful snow, also rage and his dispassion. I could hardly see for the blur. Just pick up the nearest object. These voices become messages. Maybe it's not him. It was thin air. A composite plant like a spineless thistle came earlier. A loop or tuft in yern. A budding. What survives of our surroundings is found reflected, yet condensed, in an outer layer of the earth itself. Impalement of reasoning power is characterized. There is difficulty in expressing logical ideas. Speech from the periphery and beyond. It owes its transcendence. An effect is observed, a source of spectral lines in a magnetic field. Also corruptly paste egg, an ovum dyed of colours various, purple and green hard as gift. I am sometimes applied to my own mind. She hands him an object, turns and strides off along the towpath. I was waylaid. There was no movement. The yard was silent. The front door of the house was closed. That plastic sleeve does not appear to open. I had lost my direction. Orientation stems from the unlikeliest of agencies. He took from his surroundings what was needed and made of it something more. The age is sudden, is it not? We fetched up at auction. The spokesman swore under his breath. the ear-like appendage to an atrium of the heart. It's at this point that the link between irony and the novel becomes apparent. That tonic pedal lasts well over 2 minutes. There's Requiem, then Illuminator. I'd throw this away, but I need the numbers. Rib of groined vault, archaist. I think you've stolen enough of my time. I'm down on my saints. I like the way no one in the film has a job. It was an umbrella kind of childhood, that peculiar ploy of music, and we recited it over and over. Both survivors are very excited at the prospect. There were blue flames visible through the spokes. The dwelling is empty, i.e. we begin by coveting what we see every day. There are glaciers at creek. Let us crash land hereabouts. The etymology of crate leads us to a hurdle. I can't remember what it was. Now I have lost even my name. The sea is no longer the sea, its brittle surface. This is fabulously mournful, no? I mean the strings, the wormholes. I meant to say 153 days, not seconds. Miscellaneous things again, straight to the loghead, an absolute. Which is denied to all. An arm dangled out of the shadow, along with the shape of orange, not the fluid itself, a panacea. After that storm, there was some strange telepathy going on. Hold your horses. I realised that the object of mourning was writing itself. Whenever I think of an inner, I'm actually thinking of the outside. The majority of our daily activities are inadequately performed. When he looks back, all he sees is wreckage, oozing out of slender, hollow tubes. And then there were these streets and passageways, all the illumination. This is me quoting him, quoting another, and so on, to an infinity. He encircles and isolates every lens. I was deciduous in courtship. There is always a season when I lose my leaves. It was believed that a nerve ran right through it, the leech finger, straight to the heart. There's definitely a red light flashing away, somewhere in the distance. Regular as a metronome. Individuals become manifest and received names. If we imagine this as the earth with the moon circling around it, well, this would be helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah.